I'm Shawn Anderson with AreaPro. This is my partner, John. We're the founders of AreaPro, and we wanted to talk for just a minute today about some agents are winning listings out there and some are not. What do you think is the number one reason agents are walking out without a signed listing agreement in this market?
One of the things that really leads to an agent being successful in their appointment is whether or not they come prepared. And I don't just mean prepared like they got a nice shirt on and, everybody knows their name, but really come prepared to inform the seller what the market looks like. A lot of sellers are really confused about what their home's actually worth and what the market around them's doing. They've got memories of what it did 6 months ago, but what it's doing right now.
Yeah.
And so agents that show up with the current market data and how the market's performing, I think is what really differentiates agents that win the listing or not.
Yeah, I agree. And unfortunately, a lot of agents are leaving with sellers more confused than when they got there. I think that can happen because sometimes we as agents, we tend to try to overwhelm people just to show how smart we are. So, understanding, number one, what's happening in the market, and then being able to convey it in a way that the client understands is really critical as well. So I think you're right. It's not being able to answer the question, how's the market, is probably one of the number one reasons people are walking away without listing agreements right now. And so what do we do about that? What does AreaPro do about that?
Well, I think one of the things that AreaPro does is it brings in this consistent look and feel of up-to-date data that is specific to that seller's local market.
Okay.
And
so
that's
define local market for me.
Well, it's dependent upon the expertise of the agent, right?
Okay.
So AreaPro as a software, we don't know what your market looks like. We don't know. I was talking to a guy the other day in North Carolina, and I've never been to North Carolina, but he's using AreaPro in every single one of his presentations because he's the expert, he's the pro, and he goes into AreaPro and sets up and says, here's what the north side of this city looks like, here's what the south side looks like, and creates his areas, and then he's able to speak to it. And what AreaPro does is we just consistently lay it out in the key 14 or 15 metrics that are most important in every real estate conversation.
Yeah.
Because I think you have to simplify it. Like you said, you got to boil it down to something that is really easily explainable, and you got to help the sellers understand. Some sellers are super sophisticated and they want to see all 3,000 data points.
Yep.
And others just want to understand what is the one most important metric that they can use to help them make a better decision.
When you talk about these different horizons of market analysis, when you're trying to understand a market, local means a lot of different things. For some people, we work with clients. There's a guy out in Orlando that we work with quite a bit, and he uses our tool in every single appointment as well. His local market is one single building of condos.
Right.
And there are about 400 buildings in that condo. So there's a lot of inventory there. There's about, at any given time, there are 30 to 40 that are selling and 2 to 3 selling every month. That's his hyper local market. For me, out here in East Idaho, sometimes it's a little bit more broad. Maybe it's a zip code. And so, but the AreaPro, walk me through the flexibility that AreaPro provides when it comes to defining geographic areas inside the tool.
Yeah, great question. So there's really kind of two key mechanisms. One is to use the MLS data that's got the information inside of it, and that's put in by all the agents when they list properties. It can go as wide as county, right?
Okay.
And then zoom in like by state, or not by state, but by county, by zip code, by school boundary kind of thing.
Yep.
Or you can group some of them together. Like Mike Hick, one of our partners, is really adamant that these 5 high schools behave the same, not all 7 in a specific area. And so he has an area that he lives and breathes by that is the 5 high school area. That's what he calls it in his AreaPro. And it's just this group of 5 high schools, and it's got the 5 different high school boundaries in it. And so you can group those together. You can look at just a specific zip code or something else. And then the other way is by drawing a map. Like sometimes we know that a zip code's huge and it includes 2 different cities and it includes half of one city or not. I have a friend out in Kansas City who said, Kansas City splits states. It's on 2 different states completely. The zip codes are all different. And so they use the map draw tool a lot because they can go in and they can say, I'm looking at these 4 subdivisions. They all behave similarly. Let me go create the area for that.
Awesome.
And then they become the expert in that. And then they show up with their Remo and they talk people through what that looks like.
What's a Remo?
A Remo is our real estate market overview.
Kind of the flagship report inside the tool. And what that looks like, just real briefly, and then we'll wrap this up, is you For me as an agent, and like I said, I'm a part of this AreaPro product that we're building, but I'm also an active agent that works with buyers and sellers on a weekly basis. When I walk into a consultation with a buyer or seller, I bring this iPad with me. I use it first to take notes, and then I flip it and I use a phrase like this after we get done walking through the house. If it's a seller, or we get done talking about what their dream home looks like, if it's a buyer, then I ask them, would it be okay if we took a few minutes and I show you what's happening in the market here in your area? Every time they say yes, whether they entered that consultation knowing that they were going to ask about the market or be curious about it or not, they always are like, oh yeah, let's do that for sure. And so I pull this out and I open up AreaPro, and within one click I can go to the area that I have defined and saved in the tool that will help me have a conversation with them about their specific area. And like you said, that can be a bundle of high schools, or it could be down to the street that they live on. If there's enough data there, it could be as broad as the county. And sometimes it's both. We navigate back and forth to help them understand what's happening in the market. And so that usually takes anywhere from 3 or 4 minutes if it's someone that's not real prone to loving numbers, as many as up to 20 to 30 minutes if it's someone that's asking a ton of questions and loving the data. And I can just adapt as the personality, drives that.
And I love that script that you used. I think it's really important for agents to walk in and say to the seller, would it be okay if we went through some of the market data?
Yeah.
And I think that's really important to kind of put it back in their control, right? Is help
Yeah.
them understand the market data, rather than let me shove, all the data points down your throat, or let me tell you what your house is worth. Like, let's just go through it together. Let's go explore. AreaPro is very interactive.
Yeah.
They can go explore different price points and ranges and things. And I think that script's really good. Like, would it be okay if we looked at this data together and understood the market before we really talk about your lowest level, which is like a CMA, right? Like, let's look at your individual house.
All right. Well, thanks, John. Good chat. Make sure you start using AreaPro today to win more listings.